Even tweeted these words to his followers, quote, "During the shutdown, I have asked to have my pay withheld."
Congressman Erik Paulsen, he's joining us live from Capitol Hill. And Congressman, so you say you're willing to work for no pay. That's what a lot of folks are having to do now who are furloughed to get to the end of this here. The president brings up a very good point. He says, look, if Speaker Boehner simply brings this to the floor, by our count, by Dana Bash's count, there are enough Republicans as well as Democrats to get this thing passed. Do you have any influence? What can you do or your caucus do to get Boehner to bring that to the floor?
Well, this is where I'm trying to influence, and thanks for having me on today. There are ways forward, and the Speaker knows this. I had a conversation with him yesterday as well, and there are bipartisan ways forward. In order to resolve this, and we want to see this resolved, there is going to have to be bipartisan support. The medical device tax repeal is the only proposal that had the most bipartisan votes coming out of the House and has the opportunity in the Senate to gain traction. And it fixes a part of Obamacare in terms of repealing an awful tax, and it's got bipartisan support. And then we can address the situation, of course, reopening the government. And so it's a great opportunity. It could be the linchpin, the real linchpin to move this opportunity forward. And I think our leadership recognizes that as well.
But, Congressman, you know that the president would veto such a bill. He would not, under any circumstance, sign a bill that either changes, defunds, or changes in some way his Obamacare plan.
Well, first of all, it is important to note, though, that I don't think it's helpful to have finger pointing, to have lines drawn in the sand. People need to sit down and talk through it. 79 senators also voted to repeal this device tax as a part of their budget debate. There are Democratic senators, and knowing we're going to have that bipartisan component to resolve this situation, this is a way forward. And rank and file members are bringing this forward as well. You're going to see more attention on this issue in the near future. And, you know, the White House, I think, may come along if they have some pay-fors for it. That's been an issue in the past. And so we're keeping that door open, and I think they are as well.
So perhaps that is a carrot. That is something that can be offered up in this negotiating thing. But something we asked Dana Bash earlier, I'm curious, you're on the inside there. We're hearing other Republicans say there's this 20, 30, maybe 40 hardcore conservatives who are behind all of this. And there are a lot of moderate Republicans going, we're just getting dragged into it. Why is that core group so powerful within the GOP?
Well, I think right now everyone feels they've been dragged into it. And actually even the real hardline conservatives that wanted to take this line of strategy have now actually modified their positions and have voted for just the medical device tax repeal or just the one-year delay in the mandate. So we've all kind of gotten dragged into it. My constituents want to see resolution. I think most lawmakers want to see resolution now. I think we need everyone just to sit down and actually talk. We have averted past shutdowns just 2 years ago, for instance, when both sides were talking, and unfortunately, we haven't even had those conversations.
But this was led by Senator Cruz and those who are along with him. A lot of Republicans aren't happy about that. Why are they so powerful?
Well, first of all, the challenge for anyone who's in leadership is getting everybody on the team to move forward with unity. And that's been a challenge for sure on the Republican side right now. But in the end, there's no doubt I'm not a supporter of Obamacare, voted to repeal it, to defund it, et cetera. But we do need to move on. We'll get through this next election. We'll have an opportunity to really make a difference. But we can dismantle parts of the law, and this medical device tax has bipartisan support to do that. I think it is a linchpin to move it forward. I'm going to continue to work hard to make sure that that happens as well. So it's not just one faction. I think a lot of folks now recognize we've got some challenges that we can meet. And what are the ways forward? That's what we need to figure out soon.
And Congressman, I want to bring up, this is Senator Barbara Boxer. She's explaining here how things could move forward. And of course, that is the Speaker bringing the legislation before the House. I want you to hear how she put this.
Speaker Boehner could just bring up that vote right now in 5-10 minutes, and we would open the government, and then we would sit down and talk about all the things they care about. What's really interesting is that the Republicans in the House have been gutting the NIH, so I'm glad they now care about it. That's good.
So, Congressman, I mean, how long does this go on until there is some sort of movement or demand to get the Speaker to the floor to make this thing happen, to move this forward? I mean, he is the one person who can do that.
Well, I would point out this, though, because when the House did pass a couple of our bills we sent over the Senate, they did avoid the vote on the medical device tax. They combined it with another bill. So Senator Boxer it's exactly as she said. There'll be bipartisan support. We can resolve it. So it's not just the Speaker holding something up. It's actually the majority leader in the Senate. And this is where both sides need to figure out, come together and talk. Our constituents demand that. Certainly as an elected official, I want to see that happen.
Are you talking? I mean, can you tell us what's going on?
There are conversations. In fact, there's a group of growing members, mostly younger and newer members that haven't been here as long, that are trying to break the logjam to make sure that issues like the medical device tax repeal are entered into the debate, are entered into the discussion. I had my conversation with my leadership, Speaker Boehner, yesterday, and he says, hey, this could be a possible way forward. So that door's not closed. I've also been speaking with my U.S. senators from Minnesota, and they're open to the idea of repealing the medical device tax too. So it's just kind of maybe it's a matter of just getting actual sit down at the table with some of the leaders, and we can get the rank and file members behind it.
Very, very quickly too, I mean, because people watching all have opinions on this. I mean, Congress has a 10% approval rating. Are you surprised?
Yeah. No, I'm not surprised at all. I'm not in the approval rating, support the approval rating as well. Congress is broken, Washington is broken, and it's the president who's doing the finger pointing as well. And this is where I think folks are just expecting us to come together to sit down. We've got the challenge with the debt ceiling come up. The vast majority of the public says that shouldn't be negotiated over. It's not a line in the sand as well, and we need to be prepared for that, to have those serious talks, negotiations, to get it right, because a $17 trillion debt, that's nothing to scoff at. We need to address that with future plans as opposed, and make sure we don't default, obviously, but we got to have a plan in place so it's reformed and fixed in the future. Congressman Erik Paulsen, thanks so much. Appreciate you being with us today.
At least he's talking about talking. We hope there's going to be some action. You're looking at the clock there, 60 hours, day 3.
And counting.
Yes, and counting. And more needs to be done. And coming up, you're going to hear from people who essentially been squeezed by